aquí con nosotros. Continuamos con nuestro programa de Nueva Mujer. Y bueno, les tengo una sorpresa de la entrevista con el doctor Eric Pearl. Así que, por favor, no se la pierdan. Está muy bonita. Ustedes, bueno, tienen que verlo porque este fin de semana es el seminario de la reconexión en México. Y entonces, bueno, tienen que ir, va a ser el día 6, el día 7 y el día 8 de diciembre en el Hotel Meliá. El doctor Eric Pearl está en México y la verdad es un honor para nosotros tenerlo aquí. Así que empezamos con la grabación, con la entrevista. Hola amigos de Planeta 2013, yo soy Sandy Salinas y este es tu programa Nueva Mujer. El día de hoy tengo un súper invitado muy especial para mí porque yo tengo 4 años practicando lo que es la sanación reconectiva y la reconexión. Así que tenemos el día de hoy con nosotros al doctor Eric Pearl. Muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Muchas gracias. Tenía muchísimas ganas de verte. Ya sé que siempre te estoy viendo en todas partes. Obviamente estamos muy en contacto, pero quiero que les platiques a todos nuestros televidentes cómo empezó el Dr. Eric Pearl.
I want you to tell our audience, how do you start?
Well, I was awakened one night
Una noche me desperté
by a very bright light.
por una luz muy brillosa.
It wasn't anything seemingly spiritual or metaphysical. It was just the lamp next to my bed. It had decided to turn itself on. I had had that lamp for about 12 years. Same amount of time that I was practicing as a doctor of chiropractic. But this night, when it turned itself on, there was also a very unusual feeling that I had. It felt as if someone was in my house, as if someone had been watching me while I was asleep. The feeling was so real that I got up with a knife and a can of pepper spray and my Doberman pinscher, and I went hunting through the house to see who might be there. After not finding anyone, I told myself it was my imagination. I went back to sleep. But that Monday when I went into my office, 7 of my patients, independently of one another, started telling me that they were feeling as if someone was watching them while I was working on them. They were feeling sets of hands comfortably, reassuringly resting on them while I was working with them. They could feel my hands touching them even when my hands were not touching them. As their eyes were closed, I would hold my hands near them and play with feelings that I started to feel that day for the first time in my hands. And their fingers would involuntarily move. Their eyes would dart back and forth. Little muscles in their forehead or their chin would ripple the way water ripples if you drop a stone into it. Pulling at their eyebrows, pulling at their lips. When they opened their eyes, they told me they were seeing colors they'd never seen before, smelling flowers they'd never smelled before, and they started reporting healings. Real healings. They were getting up out of wheelchairs, vision and hearing returning. Children with cerebral palsy or epilepsy were suddenly able to walk and run and play, and speak normally, not have seizures, not need medications. Their parents would call, their doctors would call. They'd say, "What did you do?" I said, "I didn't do anything and don't tell anybody." Of course, the more I said this, the more people came in asking for the same thing. And then people started asking me to teach it. And I said, "I can't teach this, I don't know what I'm doing." He said, "I'm standing there, I'm waving my hands in the air, looking like an idiot." I said, "So you go outside, you wave your hands in the air, you tell me what your neighbors have to say about you." But more and more, my patients would call me up and they'd say that when they got home from my office, their automatic garage door began to open and close by itself. When they walked into their house, their lamp or their television started turning itself on and off and on and off. They felt sensations in their hands. They would hold their hands near somebody in their family. suddenly the grandfather could walk again after the stroke that he had, or the uncle regained his hearing. And we began to discover that once we interact with this new, more comprehensive healing spectrum, what science today refers to as the reconnective healing spectrum, that something changes within us. It not only allows us to access our own healings, but allows us to bring about, to facilitate healings for others with whom we interact.
Ay, qué bonito. Sí, yo he experimentado ese tipo de cosas con la sanación reconectiva. Yo te quería hacer una pregunta de ¿cómo se siente? Tú eres un testimonio.
So I want to ask you, how does it feel, because you are a witness on this.
Y de repente voltear y ver 75,000 personas que son testimonio en esto.
75,000 people who are also witness.
¿Cómo se siente?
What does that feel like?
¿Cómo se siente Eric?
How does Eric feel?
It's not an easy question to answer.
Pregunta fácil de responder.
I don't believe that I fully have a grasp or the perspective on how many people have really been affected. It's a number to me. I mean, by now it's actually close to 100,000 people. What does that mean? I know that on a Thursday night I left my office thinking I was a chiropractor. I know that on a Monday morning I came in, I found I was something else. And I know today that these teachings have spread throughout the world. I believe they've spread throughout what you could call the energy fields, which really is the universe. You know, every one of us is here to learn our lessons. Every one of us is here to leave our mark or leave our legacy. Every one of us is doing it. Mine might not be so particularly special or unique, as much as it's maybe more fun than for some people, the way they choose to experience leaving their legacy. I'll give it that. And maybe it's more visible. But I'm fairly certain that it can't be more important than anyone else's. You know, some stars in the sky seem to shine more brightly than others. But do they really? Do they really shine more brightly? Or is it that they're just a little closer? And the reality is the light that's coming from them is reflected light. It's not their light to begin with. It's a sharing, a reflection of light. We're all here reflecting light. And depending upon someone's perspective or relationship to another person, one person's star might seem to shine a little more brightly or a little less brightly. But again, does it really?
Entonces te sientes... A mí se me quedó algo muy grabado en Perú. Cuando tú dijiste un día que tú eras solamente esa puerta.
When you said that you were only a door.
Que te había tocado abrirla. Y que por ahí estábamos pasando todos.
And that was the door through which we were passing by.
Pero que a cualquiera nos hubiera pasado. Que en ese momento te pasó a ti.
It happened to you in that moment.
Y me gusta mucho eso porque...
And that's what I like a lot.
Porque es una sensación que a mí me da.
This is a feeling that I got.
como de confianza
that gives me trust.
y como de fluir hacia
And
donde
allows
estamos
me
yendo,
To
¿no? Y
flow
solamente
the
es
way
como
we are
sentir,
walking.
porque realmente cuando contactamos la energía,
Because when we
la frecuencia,
get in touch with energy, the frequency,
nosotros solamente somos como unos catalizadores
make us be only catalyzers.
y que el universo es
And therefore the
quien está
universe
verdaderamente